Welcome back to our newest edition of Seller's Corner, your go-to source for all things reselling. I'm Perry, content creator of Vendoo and part-time reseller. Today's topic is about the selling platform called Vinted and my honest review about the app. But first, let me invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we upload videos every Friday and they're all related to scaling your reselling business, vendor product tips, and community updates. Let's go. Before we go over the pros and cons of the platform, let's go over some facts about the Vinted app. Vinted was founded in 2008 and it is based in Lithuania. I think I'm pronouncing it right, Lithuania. They have over 80 million users throughout 19 countries in Europe, Canada, and United States. Although Vinted expanded their reach here in the United States in 2013, the app is not as popular compared to its competitors like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. Much like any reselling platform, Vinted has its own benefits and drawbacks, which we will go over. Now, I just want to clarify that the information that I'm about to share with you are not my personal experience per se, because I do not sell or buy on the Vinted app. However, I did open a Vinted account for research purposes and I got blocked, which I'll explain later on this video. So all the information that I have gathered are from YouTube videos, online forums, from users who share their experience either selling or buying from the Vinted app. So let's begin. Pro, there are no seller fees. Yep, you heard that right. There are no selling fees in Vinted. Zero, nada. The buyer pays for the fee, which is called buyer protection. I'll go over later on this video. However, that zero fee comes with a price. Con, no resellers allowed. Yeah, so under Vinted's terms of service, commercial selling isn't allowed on the platform. And here are the following criteria of what defines as a commercial seller, aka a reseller. Now, just reading through this list, I'm not sure how they could tell if you are a commercial seller. Now, if I have a bunch of stuff that I want to sell, how would they know that I'm a reseller or just a regular person cleaning out their closet? Doing my research, there were a few or quite a handful of sellers that got their accounts either blocked within a few days or got permanently blocked, period. So that's really something to consider on if you are planning to sell in this platform. Moving on. Pro, the app and the website are both easy to use. The listing process is very similar to Poshmark or Mercari. You upload the photos, title, description, category, price, and shipping, all the good stuff. And for shipping, I will go over it later on in this video. Now, the con, well, this one is a double whammy. Cross-listing, delisting, and relisting is a manual process. Unfortunately, Vinted is not part of Vendoo's marketplace. So for you to list or delist or relist an item, you have to do it the long, tedious way. And we all know the power of delisting and relisting stale items, but having to do it manually, I don't know. Vendoo has spoiled me, so. Now, you can pay to get your items promoted. In Vinted, they call this paid feature bump, where they basically bump your item to the top search for either 3 or 7 consecutive days. And this is where my account got blocked. So on their website, they do not explain how the bump fee is calculated. Is it 5%, 10%? So I started to do my own testing on one listing that I had in my account. I changed the price to $1, to $5, $15, $10, $50, and so forth. After doing that for 5 minutes or so, my account got blocked. Let me read you the message. So here's the message. Your account was blocked. Let's read it. And I'll post it up here somewhere or whatever. Hello, Miss Perry D. Carrying out illegal activity such as scamming, selling unauthentic items, or other misuse of the Vinted platform violates our terms and conditions, as well as third-party intellectual property rights. We have a reason to believe that fraudulent activity is being carried out throughout your account. As a result, we have to definitely block your account. Please note that creating multiple accounts on Vinted is not allowed. What exactly did I violate? Is it because I was just changing the prices of one particular item? I don't know. But as you can see here, there is no option for me to either appeal the decision. There was no warning. There's no way to email or ask for customer service. So, yeah. Moving on. Pro. Buyer pays for shipping. The shipping courier is USPS, and there are 3 shipping weight options. Small, which is up to 1 pound and costs $6.92. Medium, up to 2 pounds and costs $12.52. And large, maximum weight of 4 pounds and cost $15.46. The con. The max weight of an item that you can sell is up to 4 pounds and it costs $15.46. Granted, you're not paying this as a seller, but if I was a buyer and I had to pay $15 or $12 for sweater, that's a little bit steep. So as a seller, you're pretty much stuck because you don't have the option to either do a reduced shipping or free shipping. All right, the next drawback has multiple subtopics, so bear with me. Con. The buyer and seller user experience is terrible. Let me explain. Number 1, bundling is a nightmare. As a seller, you can offer tiered discounts similar to what eBay have. But here's the thing. When the buyer creates the bundle, they cannot purchase it immediately. What happens is that when they create the bundle, they send a bundle request, and you as a seller have to select the weight, so either small, medium, or large, and approve the transaction. But here's the kicker. The buyer has the option to buy it now or make an offer on that discounted bundle. This whole entire bundling process is just completely draining. There's just way too many back and forth between the seller and the buyer, and it's completely unnecessary. Number 2, their make offer is garbage. Both the buyer and the seller can only send a maximum of 5 offers per day. I really don't see the logic behind this. But even more bad news for the seller, a customer can offer up to 40% on an item unless the item is priced at $1. Even more bad news as a seller. So when you accept the offer, the item is automatically marked as sold even though the buyer hasn't paid for it. They have until 24 hours to pay for the item, or if you make a counter offer to their lowball offer, the buyer has up to 3 days to respond. Again, the entire process is just draining and not seamless, just not feeling the vibe. Number 3, the return and refund process is not buyer friendly. Now you're probably thinking this is great news for me as a seller, but not really, because this open doors for, scammers, but also negative feedback. And keep in mind that if there are less buyers in the platform due to bad user experience, then selling your items in Vinted is going to be very slow. So there's gotta be a balance, right? So I mentioned earlier that the buyer has to pay this mandatory buyer protection, which is 70 cents plus 5% of whatever the item price is, which doesn't include, shipping price and the taxes. Now, that buyer protection comes with limitations, such as you have up to 2 days to file a claim after the item is marked as delivered. You can receive a refund if the item was not shipped or lost within 5 days span or arrived damaged if the item is significantly not as described. However, it is unclear what meets the criteria for being significantly not as described. Now, the downside to Vinted's buyer protection program is that the buyer is responsible for paying for return shipping. And it doesn't matter if the buyer is at fault or the seller is at fault. To make matter worse, Vinted does not offer the buyer the option to buy a prepaid shipping label. They just have to figure it out. And the return process is so elementary if you were to compare it to eBay, Poshmark, or Mercari. Once the buyer purchased a tracking, prepaid shipping label, not only they have to message it to the seller, they also have to send a photo of the prepaid shipping label that shows the buyer and the seller's address, and they have to take a photo of the item in its original package. Then the buyer has to wait for the seller to confirm that they received the item for them to get the refund back. Now, as a seller, dealing with an irate buyer is one thing, but having to walk through a buyer on how to purchase a shipping label is another thing. Like, why am I being bothered about this, right? Here's the thing. If the return process is not seamless, yes, it will discourage buyers from returning the item, but in return, it will encourage them to leave you a bad review. So here's my conclusion about Vinted. Is Vinted legit? Yes, absolutely. Now, would I recommend Vinted? And my answer would be a hard pass, for the simple fact that there are better options here in the United States. Now, granted, they are not perfect, but it's certainly way much better than Vinted. Poshmark, Depop, eBay, yes, they all have their issues. But Vinted though, I'm sorry, hard pass. And that's what I have for you today. Thank you for watching this edition of Seller's Corner, your go-to source for all things reselling. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you are a US seller planning to sell on Vinted. Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, bye.